Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that might feel uncomfortable but is necessary for your understanding why your level up drives others crazy. You see, when you begin to grow, when you start to rise to new heights, something remarkable happens. It doesn't just change you, it shakes up everything around you. When you embark on a journey of personal growth, it often begins as an internal transformation. In the beginning, it's an unseen process, a quiet revolution within your mind and spirit that others may not immediately recognize. You start to change the way you think, the way you approach problems, and the way you perceive your own potential. To the outside world, you might still look the same, speak the same, and move through life in a way that seems familiar. But on the inside, everything is shifting. This internal change, however, cannot remain hidden for long. Eventually, your actions will reflect your newfound beliefs. You'll begin to approach challenges with a new sense of confidence. You'll make decisions that are aligned with your true values and goals. Your behavior, your language, and your perspective on life will subtly but unmistakably start to shift. And that's when people begin to notice. At first, it may be a subtle difference, a new level of clarity in the way you speak, or a renewed sense of energy that radiates from within. But the more you grow, the more apparent your transformation becomes. Those who are around you daily start to see the difference, even if they don't fully understand what's driving it. And that's when the reactions begin. Some will support you and celebrate your success, but others will react differently. And it's in these reactions that the true impact of your growth becomes clear. For those who are stagnant in their own lives, your growth serves as an uncomfortable reminder of what they have not yet achieved. It's not necessarily that they wish to see you fail, but your success brings to light their own complacency or fear of change. People who are unwilling to step outside of their comfort zones will often feel threatened by the mere fact that you are. They may start to criticize you, downplay your achievements, or even distance themselves from you altogether. Why? Because your growth shines a light on their own fears and limitations. The internal changes you undergo also disrupt the expectations others have of you. People often box you into categories based on what they know of you. They define you by your past actions or your former struggles. But when you grow, you defy these expectations. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today, and this can unsettle those who are used to seeing you a certain way. They may feel confused or even threatened because they can no longer categorize you. This disruption can feel destabilizing to them, and in response they may act out of fear or resentment. What's fascinating is that the very growth that triggers such reactions can also be a source of inspiration for others, though this may not always be immediately apparent. Those who resist change and growth may initially feel uncomfortable with your progress, but deep down, they may secretly wish they had the courage to make similar changes in their own lives. They might not openly admit it, but they are being forced to confront their own limitations every time they witness your elevation. In this way, your growth becomes a mirror for them, reflecting not just who you are becoming, but who they could be if they embrace their own potential. This is often the unseen impact of growth. It forces others to see themselves in a way they may not be ready to. And for some, that is an uncomfortable and even painful experience. While the shift in your life may not always be celebrated by those around you, it is impossible to deny its impact. The very act of leveling up creates waves, disrupting stagnant waters and challenging the status quo. It changes the course of conversations, shifts the energy in rooms, and forces people to reckon with their own choices. It's a ripple effect that starts with you but touches everyone in your sphere. When you start the journey of personal growth, you're not just changing your own life, you're challenging everything that has been set in place around you. The moment you decide to level up, you disrupt the expectations others have of you. People around you, consciously or unconsciously, have already mapped out a version of you based on your past behavior, your previous decisions, or even the struggles you faced. They have constructed a mental picture of who you are supposed to be. And when you choose to rise, to push past those limitations, you force them to confront a reality they may not have been prepared for. This disruption is at the core of what makes your growth so powerful. You are breaking the status quo, the established order that many are content to remain in. Most people are comfortable in their routines, their familiar surroundings, and their predictable futures. The status quo provides a sense of security, even if it's a false security. It's a place where people have settled because it requires no effort, no risk, and no change. But when you decide to elevate yourself, you break free from this self-imposed prison, and suddenly you challenge the comfort zone of everyone around you. Your growth is not just about you reaching new heights, it's about forcing everyone around you to reconsider what is possible. The moment you begin to level up, it becomes clear to those who know you that they too could do more, achieve more, and become more. But here's the problem. Many people don't want to face that challenge. They don't want to be reminded that they could be doing more with their lives. So instead of acknowledging the possibility of change, they react defensively. They criticize, they question, or even become resentful of your progress. This is not because they dislike you, but because your rise makes them uncomfortable with the idea of their own stagnation. You see, when you break the status quo, you force people to either rise with you or remain where they are. This puts them in a difficult position. They can't ignore your progress, and they can't deny the example you're setting. You are demonstrating that growth is possible, that change is achievable, and that success doesn't belong to a select few. But that realization is hard for those who have grown accustomed to the comfort of predictability. Your advancement is a reminder that they are either growing or falling behind. And for some, this is a harsh truth to accept. Breaking the status quo also goes against the expectations people place on you. They expect you to stay the same, to remain within the limits they've placed on you, and to follow the same path they've walked. But when you choose to break free from these limitations, it forces others to rethink their own lives. They see you stepping into your full potential, and whether they are ready to admit it or not, they feel the pressure to do the same. However, not everyone will respond positively to this challenge. Some will resist, some will criticize, and others will attempt to pull you back into the mold they've created for you. They might try to remind you of your past mistakes or the struggles you faced, as if those things are the only defining aspects of your identity. But you must understand that these reactions are rooted in fear. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of stepping outside their comfort zone. In breaking the status quo, you're not just shifting your own reality, you're also pushing against the barriers that others have built around their own lives. This is what makes growth so powerful. It doesn't just change you, it challenges the world around you. And in doing so, it forces people to confront the truth that they too have the ability to rise, to break free from the limitations they've imposed on themselves, and to achieve more than they ever thought possible. Relentless progress is the force that propels you forward despite the challenges, doubts, and setbacks you may face. It is not about a single victory or a temporary accomplishment. It is the continuous, unyielding drive to become better, stronger, and more capable each day. This kind of progress is not a destination but a journey, and it's one that often goes unnoticed, misunderstood, or even criticized by those around you. The power of relentless progress lies in its ability to transform not just your circumstances, but your entire perspective on what is possible. When you commit to relentless progress, you are not waiting for the perfect moment or ideal conditions. You are constantly moving, constantly improving, regardless of whether the external world is in your favor. Progress doesn't ask for permission, it doesn't seek approval, and it certainly doesn't stop just because others may not see the value in it. In fact, many people who are caught in the grip of complacency or who fear change will misunderstand this continuous forward movement. They might look at your unwavering commitment and label it as something negative. They might call it arrogance, selfishness, or pride. But in reality, your progress is not about putting others down, it's about lifting yourself up to meet your own highest potential. People often mistake relentless progress for an overinflated sense of self-worth. When they see someone working tirelessly to improve, they sometimes interpret that as a desire to outshine or surpass others. But the truth is, relentless progress is not about competing with anyone else. It's about competing with the person you were yesterday. It's a quiet revolution within yourself that doesn't require validation from others. You are not proving anyone wrong or showing anyone up. You are simply showing up for yourself day after day, and that consistency builds momentum. The power of relentless progress is that it doesn't rely on the opinions or judgments of others. You don't need the world to cheer you on for you to continue your journey. There will be days when no one notices, when your effort goes unnoticed, and when you don't receive the recognition you might feel you deserve. But the real power lies in your ability to keep moving forward, even when it feels like no one is watching. The smallest step forward is still a step in the right direction. Your progress doesn't hinge on applause or validation, it's intrinsic. It's about aligning your actions with your purpose and consistently moving towards the vision you have for yourself. This relentless pursuit of progress can sometimes be isolating. As you push yourself to new heights, you may notice that fewer people are able to relate to your journey. People who are comfortable with their own routines, who are satisfied with where they are in life, may begin to distance themselves. Your progress challenges their complacency, and that discomfort can lead to misunderstandings. They may question your motives, label you as obsessed, or even try to convince you to slow down. But the truth is, your progress is not meant to make them comfortable. It's meant to help you become the person you were always meant to be. And if that inspires others to rise, then that is an added bonus. Relentless progress has the power to break through barriers, overcome obstacles, and silence the voices of doubt. It is the quiet force that propels you forward when everything around you seems to be at a standstill. It's the voice that tells you to keep going even when the journey feels long, even when others may question your choices, and even when you face challenges that seem insurmountable. The power of relentless progress is not found in grand gestures or monumental achievements. It's found in the small, consistent steps that you take every single day to improve and move forward. The fear of self-reflection is one of the most powerful and paralyzing forces that hold people back from realizing their true potential. Self-reflection requires a deep, honest examination of who you are, and where you are headed. It demands that you face the uncomfortable truths about your own choices, behaviors, and mindset. For many, this is terrifying. The idea of confronting one's own shortcomings, failures, or missed opportunities is enough to keep them from ever looking inward. When you begin to grow and level up, your success inadvertently calls others to reflect on their own lives. This is when the fear of self-reflection becomes especially evident. People who are stuck or unwilling to change often resist the urge to look inward because doing so would force them to acknowledge their own lack of progress. Self-reflection holds up a mirror to their choices, and what they see may be painful, revealing years of complacency, mischances, and unfulfilled potential. Rather than facing these truths, many choose to remain blind, refusing to look at themselves with any honesty or depth. For some, self-reflection brings with it a sense of shame or guilt. They may wonder why they haven't achieved more, why they haven't taken more risks, or why they are still in the same place they were years ago. This kind of reflection can bring up feelings of inadequacy or failure. The fear of these emotions can be so overwhelming that people avoid looking at themselves altogether. It's easier to continue living in denial, convincing themselves that everything is fine, rather than confronting the possibility that they might not be living up to their fullest potential. The fear of self-reflection can also come from a lack of self-compassion. People who are hard on themselves or who have internalized negative self-talk may find it difficult to reflect on their actions without feeling an overwhelming sense of self-criticism. They may fear that once they begin reflecting, they will only be met with harsh judgments from within. This fear paralyzes them from moving forward because they are too busy criticizing themselves to see any possibility of growth or change. When you level up, your growth forces others to face their own fears and limitations. They may see your progress as a mirror reflecting back the things they have avoided facing. Instead of being inspired by your success, some may feel threatened because your elevation highlights their own stagnation. They may begin to criticize you, question your choices, or even distance themselves from you in an attempt to avoid confronting the uncomfortable truth that they are not living up to their own potential. In this sense, your growth can serve as a challenge, a reminder to others that they too have the ability to grow, but it is a challenge they may be unwilling to face. In reality, self-reflection is not about self-punishment, it is about self-awareness and growth. It is about looking at your life with honesty and asking yourself the difficult questions. What am I doing well? What am I not doing well? What habits are holding me back? What is stopping me from stepping into my greatness? It is only by asking these questions that true transformation can take place. However, this level of introspection requires courage, the courage to face the discomfort of what you may find. The fear of self-reflection also stems from the fear of change. Self-reflection can open up a floodgate of possibilities. It forces people to acknowledge that they are capable of more, that they have the potential to rise, but that they must make different choices to reach that potential. Many fear this realization because it comes with the responsibility of change. Once you are aware of the areas where you need to grow, you cannot pretend they don't exist anymore. You must take action, and this accountability is intimidating. Ultimately, the fear of self-reflection is a barrier that keeps people stuck in mediocrity. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect the ego from the discomfort of growth. But the truth is, without self-reflection, there can be no real progress. Self-awareness is the first step toward transformation. And while the fear of looking inward may be overwhelming, it is only by facing yourself honestly that you can break free from the chains of complacency and step into the fullness of your potential. When you decide to level up and elevate your life, you are not just changing your own circumstances, you are challenging the very foundation of the comfort zones of those around you. A comfort zone is that space where everything is familiar, predictable, and safe. It's a place where people can avoid the discomfort of uncertainty and the effort required for growth. The comfort zone is like a mental prison, offering a false sense of security, yet preventing any real progress. And when you start to break free from that zone, it disrupts the sense of peace that many people have found in their own complacency. As you elevate your life, you inevitably push others to confront their own unwillingness to change. Your growth forces them to examine the limits they've set for themselves. The moment you start to move outside of the boundaries they've created for themselves, they feel the pressure to move as well. But not everyone is ready to leave their comfort zone. In fact, most people are deeply attached to it. It's a place where they feel safe, even if that safety comes at the cost of their own potential. When you rise, you challenge them to face the uncomfortable reality that they too could do more, achieve more, and become more, but it would require stepping outside of that safe, familiar space. This challenge can create a deep sense of discomfort in others. They may see your growth and feel that it's an invitation for them to do the same. But rather than embracing the challenge, they resist. They may criticize you for striving for more, labeling you as too ambitious or too focused on success. They might even attempt to pull you back into their comfort zone, not because they dislike you, but because your journey forces them to acknowledge that they are not growing in the same way. Your progress becomes a mirror reflecting their own stagnation, and many are not ready to face that truth. There's an underlying fear that often drives this resistance, the fear of stepping into the unknown. Leaving a comfort zone requires a leap of faith, a willingness to face the uncertainties of the future, and the courage to confront the discomfort of growth. For some, this fear is paralyzing. They would rather stay in the familiar, even if it's holding them back, because stepping into the unknown is simply too frightening. They would rather remain where they are than risk failure, rejection, or the vulnerability that comes with trying something new. The challenge to their comfort zone is not something they consciously choose, it's something they avoid. When you level up, you become a reminder that change is possible, but it also highlights the fears and insecurities that people may be too afraid to face. This creates a tension. On one hand, they may feel the pull to rise, to step up, and to embrace change. On the other hand, they may also feel a strong resistance to moving beyond the familiar. This tension often leads to defensive behavior. They may become critical of your choices, dismiss your ambitions, or try to convince you to slow down so that they can feel comfortable again. This dynamic can create an uncomfortable atmosphere for both you and them. While you are striving for greater things, they may be subconsciously pulling you back into their zone of comfort. The conflict arises because they are not ready to make the leap. Their fear of stepping out of the familiar keeps them from taking action, and your growth is a constant reminder that they are not yet ready to take the same step. However, your decision to step outside of your own comfort zone should not be hindered by the reactions of others. The discomfort others feel when you break free from their limitations is not your responsibility to manage. Their resistance is rooted in their own unwillingness to change, and it is not a reflection of your journey. The challenge to their comfort zone is an inevitable consequence of your growth, and though it may make them uncomfortable, it is also a powerful opportunity for them to see what is possible if they choose to embrace change. The call to elevation is a powerful invitation that beckons you to rise above your current state, to transcend the limitations that have been placed upon you, and to step into the fullness of your potential. It is not a passive experience, but an active summons to reach higher, to push further, and to embrace the person you are destined to become. The call to elevation is an inner voice that whispers in your spirit, urging you to stop settling for mediocrity and to start living in alignment with your highest aspirations. It is a call that often comes at the most unexpected moments, challenging the comfort of your current circumstances and urging you to take bold steps toward growth and transformation. When the call to elevation comes, it disrupts everything. It is a challenge to the status quo of your life. You may have been living in a certain way for years, comfortably nestled in the routine of your day-to-day existence. But suddenly there's a stirring within you, a desire for something more. This call is not just about material success or external achievements, it's about the deep, unshakable belief that there is more inside of you waiting to be unleashed. It's the recognition that you were made for greatness, and it is time to step into that reality. However, answering the call to elevation is not easy. It requires you to confront your own fears, doubts, and insecurities. It requires you to break free from the chains of complacency that have held you in place for so long. When the call to rise comes, it often feels like an overwhelming challenge because it demands that you go beyond what is familiar, beyond what is comfortable, and beyond what you've known as possible. It calls you to step into the unknown, to face uncertainty with courage, and to trust that the journey ahead is worth the risk. The call to elevation also challenges your mindset. It asks you to rethink your beliefs about what is possible for your life. Many people live with limiting beliefs that keep them anchored to a certain level of success or accomplishment. These beliefs are often shaped by past experiences, societal expectations, or the opinions of others. But the call to elevation demands that you shed these limiting beliefs and replace them with the belief that you are capable of achieving far more than you have ever imagined. It requires you to expand your thinking, to see beyond the immediate circumstances, and to embrace the possibility of transformation. As you begin to rise, the call to elevation often creates friction in your relationships and environment. Those around you may not understand the changes you are making, and some may even resist your growth. This is natural. When you begin to elevate yourself, you force others to examine their own lives, their own choices, and their own stagnation. And for some, this is uncomfortable. They may criticize your ambition, label you as too driven, or even attempt to pull you back into the patterns of mediocrity that you are trying to escape. But despite these external pressures, the call to elevation is personal. It is a reminder that your journey is not about pleasing others. It is about answering the deepest call within your own spirit. The beauty of this call is that it does not require perfection, it requires action. The call to elevation is about taking one step forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. It's about having the courage to move, even when you're unsure of the outcome. It's about trusting that the process of growth, though challenging, is ultimately the path to your highest self. The elevation that you seek is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process of becoming, of shedding old habits, limiting beliefs and fears, and stepping into a new version of yourself. And every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. When you answer the call to elevation, you begin to live with purpose and intention. You no longer let life happen to you, you actively shape your reality. You no longer settle for less than what you are capable of achieving. Instead, you rise with confidence, knowing that you are on the path to greatness. And every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the vision you hold for your life.